Aggregate. Villa, who only actually had the 3 shots on goal, made 2 of them count. Leicester City will rue the 61% of possession they had, but it's Villa who march on to Wembley. So we have a Wembley finalist. We had a great game of football, Craig.
Well, actually, and that possession, the possession surprises me a little because I personally didn't think it felt like that. It didn't feel that Leicester had more. But it didn't feel that they dominated the possession like the stats would suggest. It was a weird kind of... You're right, it was an excellent game. Open, entertaining, what you want from a semi-final with somebody taking the glory at the end. But as Shaq mentioned, Nyland in goal was superb first half. And then Villa came into it. Obviously they took the lead. Everything came down... A lot came down the left. Grealish fading out to the left and Target getting forward on the overlap. That happened quite a lot. And then, in the second half, when Leicester pushed for a bit, and then Villa looked like the side, to me, that was going to go on and get the second goal, and maybe even the third goal. They missed a couple of great chances. Equaliser comes along, you think, right, that's it. The pendulum has swung. And it did. It did swing, and Villa, they rode the luck a little bit with some of those chances, and Leicester were maybe a little profligate in front of goal, and they got the sucker punch at the end. It's hard to say Villa didn't deserve it, but you think about the last time they played Man City, recently at home, pummeled by 6-1. That's not going to spoil the celebrations tonight, but it's just putting it in context.
Lots of wide-open, swashbuckling football, as Craig said. 2 players in particular, Jack Grealish, James Maddison. How good are these 2 players? Because they put on a show tonight.
Simply outstanding. Both of them. We've been singing their praises all season long. Maybe less so for Grealish just because of Villa's struggles. But everything about Aston Villa goes through Jack Grealish. Whenever they're good, he has to be fantastic. And he was on the night. Now, if you look at these 2 teams in the table, judging on today's performances, it's not a whole lot between them. But again, as you look at the Premier League table, you see the gulf between these 2 sides, and it doesn't quite add up. Aston Villa, I thought, were very good when they had their opportunities. They made the most of them. And in a game that swung each way. Nyland, very good early on. I don't really remember Schmeichel making too many saves, but then he conceded a couple. And as you rightly point out, the 2 main protagonists for both teams would stand out.
Well, absolutely brilliant for Aston Villa to get back to Wembley. Remember, they were just there for the Championship playoff final in May where they beat Derby. Who will they be facing is the question. Well, the odds makers are in no doubt whatsoever. Not going to win much money on Manchester City advancing to the final. Remember, they lead 3-1. Manchester United, well, if you fancy a flutter, you can get 28-1 on them advancing. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, though, saying, listen, we can't just defend. We have to try and keep the ball and make them run after the ball. Perfect performance it has to be, but we have done amazing things before at this club. And the PSG game is, for me, a very, very good example. Frank Leboeuf is with us. Frank, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talking about a game nearly a year ago, of course, where they did turn around to 2-goal advantage in the Champions League. Are you surprised he's referencing that game?
Not at all. That was kind of a miracle, and nobody expected Manchester United to come to Parc des Princes and win and get through. So he can use that to motivate everybody and makes hopes around the team with the fans. So it's but to be fair, it was more, and I don't want to be harsh too much to Manchester United, and I'm not a Paris Saint-Germain fan whatsoever. It's just that it's more Paris Saint-Germain who didn't play that game more than Manchester United who had a fantastic game. It was more mistakes from Buffon, mistakes from Kerrer, and given goals to Manchester United. So again, I don't know if they can really use that, but do they have another reference to have and to make before that game against Manchester City? I don't think so.
Do you happen to share Solskjaer's optimism?
Obviously not with the way we started this show when I already game where Rashford did play and United played well. But if they learn those defensive lessons with what we saw in the first leg, Adrian, it would have to take a diabolical performance from Man City not to go through.
As you said, United have beaten City at the Etihad in the league.
Listen, the bookies have it as they do for a reason. And I understand Solskjaer trying to draw inspiration from somewhere. The trouble is, Manchester United of late haven't had inspiring performances. And she'll have to look to a game from a year ago to find some kind of encouragement in this one. But listen, you understand Solskjaer trying to find a spark from somewhere, but as a neutral, you just don't see how United turn this around. Not this United.
I think if United go... Look, I think there's an expectation by United fans with common sense that having watched the first leg, it's unlikely they're going to go through. I think what they have to avoid, clearly, without stating the obvious, is a pummeling, right? Because clearly they're not going to get rid of Solskjaer. That's not going to happen we've discussed it. It's not going to happen at the moment. So the one thing, or they're not going to happen barring a disaster. So he just has to avoid a disaster. Anything else for him is an absolute bonus. Well,
some good news today for Manchester United. Apparently the Bruno Fernandes deal is very much back on. Reports that he is due to arrive at Old Trafford tomorrow. Other good news, or is it? A potential return to Manchester United.
Good news if Henrik Larsson's coming back.
For Alexis Sanchez, apparently. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying, hey, listen, Henrik Larsson was good enough. Nemanja Vidic, Patrice Evra, talking about previous January signings. It's hard, very hard. The club don't want to lose their best players. And Alexis Sanchez will come back in the summer to prove you all wrong.
And then people laughed.
Yeah. Well, this is what he's done for Inter on loan so far this season. Pretty good start, we have to say, to life. But then, of course, injury taking its toll. Just 7 games, 214 minutes, 1 goal, 1 assist. Craig, what do you make of him mentioning...
There was almost some derision in the press room when he came out with this comment. You know, there's actually one journalist that you heard, for those that have saw or seen the video, they said serious. But there's not one United fan on the planet with an iota of a brain is going to buy that.
I find this totally confusing. Now, this story or this press conference was done before the Bruno Fernandes story broke, and you felt it moved us as far as it did. I just thought you start a press conference about January transfer signings or lack of at the time, and it somehow swings to Alexis Sanchez, a return in the summer, a player that you have and has failed. And as you mentioned, Adrian, started well enough at Inter, but it hasn't been great over recent weeks. Again, it goes back to Solskjaer, and I find what he says in the media is becoming more and more confusing.
Or even, Frank, could you say desperate? It just sounds a little desperate to be talking about Alexis Sanchez, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you have to understand that he has to give a speech to the fans when he talks to the press, and he has to give maybe for the fans some hopes that there is a bright future very soon for Manchester United. I mean, it's very, very sad in a way. Maybe not desperate, but sad that when you're the coach, you know that there is no top player who want to come to Manchester United nowadays, which is very, very sad for that fantastic club. But who wants to come? We don't even know if Cavani is going to come. I'm not sure he's going to come. But top world-class player don't want to go to Manchester United right now because it's a big mess, and it's been like that for like even a decade. So it's complicated for Solskjaer to say, well, what can I say to the fans? What can I say to my team that somebody's going to come to reinforce our squad? And the only person maybe is Sanchez, who already belongs to the club.
Well, I'm sure Manchester United amongst the subjects discussed on the Gab and Jules podcast. New version dropped just yesterday. You can check it out on the ESPN Pod Center or app and count, and they're through to the semi-final. So in the space of 90 minutes, or actually less than 90 minutes, he came on, so we saw the best and the worst of one Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, well, actually, I saw him on the bench, and he was directing traffic. He was almost like another coach on the bench. He's clearly into this project about going back there and trying to help out Milan. So he was playing a part as a substitute, and then he played a big part again when he came on. But he has in every game that he's played, and there is no doubt that he's had an impact both on and off the field, because almost to a man, those Milan players have raised the game.
They were a whole lot better once he was on the park. Torino, I thought, deserved to get their 2 goals. I thought they were better, the two teams. But once Zlatan was introduced, you saw AC Milan raise their game, saying that you could probably put that down to Torino and trying to run the clock out. But not only did Çalhanoğlu grab the equalizer, even after the miss, Zlatan still brought the best out of Sirigu before the end of the regulation 90 minutes. And then in extra time, you knew with Zlatan on the park, there was only ever going to be one winner.
We saw the tributes to Kobe Bryant from the Rossoneri before the game. Of course, his ties to